Welcome to Space Therapy, where we are exploring what it means to have a home that's designed by LIFE, life. We accommodate L for your lifestyle activities, with I, your home's interior flow, so that you create the F of feelings desired even as you handle E, the exterior connections. In my video on reverse abstraction, I showed how the spaces we have seen and remembered become our memories, and the shapes or forms within these memories drive the colors, textures, and patterns of what inspires us to feel at home in a space. Once we discover these elements, the question then becomes, how do we integrate them into our design? Well, what we experience in nature can instruct us. It can be distilled down into 4 principles. They are found in what I call nature's toolbox. The first 2 principles involve shapes and can be described by fractals. Roughly speaking, fractal theory is the study of shapes of natural objects. The main 2 principles involve scaling and self-similarity. After that, nature adds transitions and randomness. The first principle is called scaling. In nature, shapes scale from small to large. I call this the Goldilocks principle. In design, we can use this principle and apply it to not just shapes. We can use it with color, patterns, and textures as well. Integrating them into the design from matte to glossy, taking the eye through the color spectrum like it would out in nature, and maybe patterns from plain to detailed, etc. The second principle is called self-similarity. We have a unique ability to make connections between objects that are different in type and in scale based upon a perceived shared attribute. In other words, I can show you a person's upstretched arm in a photo of a upstretched fin of a humpback whale, or even a stop-action photo of a hummingbird wing, and you and I can make a connection between these 3 upstretched elements. Well, I call this the resemblance connection. And self-similarity and scale often pair up. Take a look at this before photo. You can see the typical brain-toxic sharp corners that we are still using today in design. But in the after photo, look at the many ways the shape of an arc is repeated, bringing a sense of harmony to the complexity of this space. The arc of the window, the arcs on the back of the stools, the arcs in the monorail tracks, even the arc in the upper regions of the cabinets as they sweep around the room. Here again, you see the arc of the window and the arc at the ends of the hood and the arcs at the end of the island and the stainless steel counter and the shelves of the cabinet below. In this kitchen, that appeared in the Wall Street Journal's mansion section, I shaped the long island to resemble the way we shape our arms to invite a hug. That invokes the principle of self-similarity. Notice as well the many L-shaped stepping elements, starting with the way the mahogany steps down from the window and then under the wall cabinets. And you'll see that same shape on the outer wall repeated with the counter. That's self-similarity. Then, to invoke a musical principle, I inverted this motif and used a fragment of it in 2 places, in the shape of the stone under the cabinets on the outer wall and under the island. And then note how the stone in both places steps upward to visually support the cabinet on the outer wall in one case and the walnut eating bar of the island in the other, thereby completing the L-shaped step. When designing, I also incorporate 2 other design principles that are derived from nature, the first of which I call transition definition. I like to ask attendees at my seminars, how do you recognize a wave when you stand at the seashore? I get many different answers. Only rarely does someone say, by the froth at the edge of the wave. True, otherwise it's just a rolling swell. It's the point of transition where the wave breaks apart that defines it as a wave. Too often, in my opinion, designers miss the opportunity to shape the transition between the base cabinets and the counters in a creative, engaging way. You can see that I floated a half-inch thick deck-ton counter on a 1-inch high band of stainless steel laminate in this photo. Not only was this visually interesting, the half-inch thick counter costs less than buying thicker counter material. To make the visual weight of the 3-centimeter thick material in this kitchen feel more supported, I added a molding under the stone. Note as well, one of my strategies to make traditional kitchens feel more brain-friendly by stepping the edge around the corner. And then don't forget the time-honored transition between the vertical and the horizontal as defined by crown moldings. Lastly, notice how I handled the toe kick transition here by using a stainless steel laminate as a self-similar link between the range, refrigerator, sink, and hood. I then added theatrical lighting as a mood-elevating enhancement of the toe kick transition. Moving on to the importance of randomness in design, like when nature puts a single daisy in the middle of an expensive green lawn, what catches your eye and causes a chuckle? Not the lawn, it's that daisy. The unexpected often delights us. I call this the appearance of a UFO. That's my acronym for Unexpected Fun Occurrence. Like in this kitchen, where I hid a light in the top of a bookcase to be discovered well after guests have gathered in the kitchen. Or this kitchen, where not only does the light help with tasks at the sink, it brings a spot of color and a smile as it threads its way through a shelf. Note as well the unexpected slot in the wall that serves as a pass-through to the dining room, yet also gives my client views up the length of Lake Washington. Finally, in this modern kitchen, the obvious UFO is the live edge eating bar. There were more surprises. The window in the corner brings much-needed light into the north-facing kitchen from the western sun. The shelf transforms into a hood to extract odors as needed. Then there is the discovery of the unexpected increased storage below the counters due to 27-inch long drawers instead of the out-of-date 21-inch or 22-inch long drawers that still dominate kitchen design. Much of my learning to design with Nature's Toolbox developed after reading John Briggs' very readable book, Fractals, The Patterns of Chaos. Decades ago, he was advocating for discovering a new aesthetic of art, science, and nature. Concluded that when you learn to recognize how nature designs our world, we will never see things in quite the same way. I would add that we will never design our spaces in quite the same way either. So there you have it, Nature's Toolbox. Scaling often pairs with resemblance or self-similarity, and transition can pair with UFOs, though each most often stands alone. Stay tuned, because when design by form follows function happens, spaces too often are not brain-friendly. When we design by form follows feeling, we discover spaces that inspire joy. Please subscribe to Space Therapy as we discover what it means to have homes designed by LIFE, life.